Welcome back. We're going to take a longer look now at a story that we touched on last week in Iceland. It's about a proposed new law called the Icelandic Modern Media Initiative, or IMMI. It's not the law there yet, but it's already caught the attention of journalists, civil rights organizations, and media all over the world. The idea behind IMMI is simple, but it's ambitious. Bring together some of the most progressive media laws from many different countries to create one holistic law that will position Iceland at the forefront of the battle to protect journalists, whistleblowers, and their sources from repressive libel laws. But can one legal initiative in one country offer protection from libel charges for embattled journalists in Sri Lanka, bloggers in Egypt, or authors around the world? The Listening Post's Meenakshi Ravi now on a media movement that's working towards creating a safe haven for investigative journalists everywhere.
Iceland seems an unlikely place to come to escape libel chill, the threat of legal action against journalists. But that's what this proposed law aims to achieve.
This legislation is based on legislation from around the world, good legislation that has proven itself.
It's an interesting experiment trying to gather best practices from around the world.
A range of laws on protection of libel, protection of sources.
So I guess that it will work both for Icelandic journalists and foreign media, probably the same.
The proposal has been just 6 months in the making. Its genesis can be traced back to a news broadcast last August. Iceland's economy was still reeling from the 2008 banking meltdown when RUV, the national broadcaster, tried and failed for legal reasons to get a banking story on the air.
5 minutes before we went on air, we got an injunction.
Nú hefjast fréttir laugardaginn 1. ágúst.
Our presenter wanted to say to the viewers, here are the stories of the night, or at least the stories that we're allowed to bring.
Samt ekki allar þær fréttir sem við ætlum að segja ykkur.
Iceland's largest bank, Kaupthing Bank, had obtained an injunction on a big story. It was about a document that had been posted on WikiLeaks, a website that's made its name as the go-to site for whistleblowers around the world. Julian Assange is one of the founders of the site.
On July 31st, 2009, WikiLeaks released a document about the Kaupthing Bank, the Kaupthing loan book. But before they could broadcast it at 7 p.m., an injunction landed on the news desk. That injunction forbade RÚV from telling the Icelandic public about the leak.
However, the documents can be found on WikiLeaks, and then we had a graphic which basically showed the website address.
So the Icelandic public became enraged that they were being denied this important information. And the political fallout of that moment is something that pushed this forward.
This is the Icelandic Modern Media Initiative, known to Icelanders as IMI.
The people behind IMI envisioned a single piece of legislation to prevent a repeat of RUV's experience in August 2009. The idea to protect journalists and whistleblowers through a media super law that would safeguard not just Icelandic media outlets, but bloggers, journalists, authors, and their sources around the world.
The group scoured the statutes of countries like Belgium, France, Scotland, and the United States for the strongest legal wording on issues like source protection, protection of communications, protection from unfair libel charges, and lumped them into a proposal for a single law. One last aspect is crucial: allowing news organizations and journalists from overseas to access computer servers in Iceland to host sensitive content in order to try to keep them beyond the reach of repressive governments and courts.
A lot of the companies that run these internet service providers are very, very small. They don't have legal departments. So people who feel that they've been libeled or defamed will come after not you actually, but your ISP. If, again, you had a country where that just couldn't happen, then that would offer up an awful lot of help for people running small websites, small investigative teams, and then maybe eventually the larger ones.
So the content would be protected. But what about the people producing the content outside of Iceland? Like Karim Amer, an Egyptian blogger jailed in 2007, or Sri Lankan newspaper editor Fredrika Jans, who's under constant pressure to change her paper's editorial line. What's to stop the authorities in those countries from prosecuting them, no matter if the server is in Reykjavik, Cairo, or Colombo?
It's important to remember that the IMI appears to be a good bullet, but it's not a magic bullet. So there will be many cases where there is brutal suppression of the press that the IMI doesn't have a substantial effect on.
So the individual journalists in Sri Lanka or in Burma or other places will still be subject to laws there, but their organisations perhaps may not, and more importantly, the information that they manage to get out of the country may not.
So for journalists needing to steer clear of repressive regimes and laws, there are two options: fly under the radar or work out of Iceland.
Obviously in countries where there is no concern with the diplomatic interplay with IMI, or perhaps the people who might persecute the journalists may not even know about IMI, people will still have to publish anonymously.
What we're seeing increasingly in digital media is small groups of investigative journalists banding together under new guises away from mainstream media. And they could certainly, being more nimble, being faster, could really take advantage of the very favourable conditions in Iceland and of their own mobility.
People like Julian Assange and Birgitte Jonsdottir, however, have bigger ambitions for IMI. It seems an idealistic vision, but they're hoping to set off a ripple effect from Iceland to the European Union and beyond.
If we have one country that sets the example and creates this haven, then it will have an impact in the sense that journalists can publish here, or it will put pressure on their own countries to have that sort of legislation on their home base.
If the proposals did work and you had a large amount of media basing themselves in this haven, then you would eventually come to a point where other countries' media laws would seem less and less relevant and workable. So eventually countries would have to adjust their own laws, probably to become more moderated and more favourable towards free expression and free information.
And even if Iceland's proposed laws don't spill over into international legislation, if passed, they will certainly impact media across the world and the World Wide Web.
More Global Village Voices now on the media initiative in Iceland.
I think that this new law in Iceland is an intelligent response to the secrecy that has caused so much harm to the Icelandic economy in the last year. In addition, from a British perspective, recent reports in the media about the Trafigura case have highlighted a power disparity caused by the libel tourism laws in the UK. It'll be interesting to see if the new law in Iceland allows a defence by proponents of free speech around the world.
Even post-war, for example, expressing dissent in Sri Lanka risks hate speech, abduction and even outright murder. There is simply no domestic safe haven for investigative content on, say, really contentious issues like war crimes. This is where I think the Icelandic Modern Media Initiative has a very good chance of success. It's a timely, valuable idea, and especially for investigative journalists who fear violent reprisals in a country like Sri Lanka. Quite frankly, this is nothing short of a tremendously valuable asset.
Finally, the viral video phenomenon is a tough thing to figure out, at least for us amateurs. There's just no telling what videos will connect with people to the extent that those people will then send the links on to their friends and propel the person behind the video to their 15 million hits of fame. But according to Dan Ackerman-Greenberg, a web entrepreneur, there is a formula. He broke down what characteristics successful viral videos tend to share, and he turned that into a web video. And of all of the how to make a viral videos that we checked out on YouTube, this one had the most hits by far. It was the only one to go viral, so we made it our web video of the week. We'll see you next time at The Listening Post.
Viral. See these videos? These are viral videos. They're really popular. The reality is that there's a gajillion videos uploaded to YouTube every day. Don't think yours is going to be viral, because no one's probably going to watch it. Unless you use strategies to get them there. Content is not king. If you want to get a bazillion hits, don't worry so much about the quality of the content. Just use one of the following strategies. Make it short, like 15 to 30 seconds. Getting onto the most viewed page. Let's say you're on YouTube. 80 million videos are watched every day on the site, and a significant number of these come from the daily most viewed lists. Get a jump start on your video by going to blogs, pay them if you need to, forums, start threads and multiple accounts to start conversation, MySpace and Facebook, share the video and make announcements to your friends. Once you get on the most viewed list, change the title to make more people watch. Make it catchy, misleading. Use words like exclusive, behind the scenes, and leaked video.
No doubt.
Manipulate the thumbnail. These are interesting thumbnails. More people are likely to click on these because they're interesting. YouTube takes the exact midpoint of your video and makes it a thumbnail. So go back into your video and place the most interesting visual part of your video at the midpoint. If all else fails, just take something popular and create a way to summarize it. So, there's this guy Tony, and if it's innovative, others will follow.
Okay, so in Baltimore,
Oceanic 815 leaves Sydney.
We don't know the definition of irony until this video itself becomes viral too. So fire your PR friend, do things yourself, and always remember.
You need strategic marketing.
Amazing.